Some houses are built to be lived in, while others are built to keep something contained within their rotting walls for all eternity. Blackwood Manor had stood for a century, a decaying monument of stone and wood, waiting patiently for its final occupant to return home. Elias stood at the gate, the iron bars cold against his skin. He had inherited more than just property. He had inherited a debt. His hand trembled as he reached into his pocket. The key felt unnaturally heavy, as if it were vibrating with a life of its own. The lock groaned in protest, a metal scream that echoed through the silent woods surrounding the estate. There was no turning back now. As the heavy door creaked open, a wave of stale, frozen air rushed out to greet him, carrying the scent of dust and ancient decay. Inside, the hallway swallowed the twilight. Elias clicked on his flashlight, the beam cutting a narrow, desperate path through the suffocating gloom. The wallpaper hung in ribbons like dead skin. Every step he took on the warped floorboards sounded like a bone snapping underfoot. He passed a cracked mirror in the foyer. For a split second he saw something standing behind him, but when he turned, there was nothing. The house felt alive. It wasn't just the settling of wood, it was the rhythmic, silent pulse of a heart that shouldn't be beating. Suddenly a shadow flickered at the end of the hall. It moved with an unnatural fluidity, far too fast for any human occupant. Elias froze, his heart hammering against his ribs. The silence that followed was even more terrifying than the movement he had just witnessed. He was drawn toward the rear of the house, toward a door that seemed to pull the very light from his flashlight into its depths. The basement door was covered in a thick layer of frost. Even though it was a mild autumn evening outside, the wood felt like ice. As he pulled it open, the hinges didn't scream. They were silent, as if the house wanted him to go down into the dark. He descended into the belly of the mansion. The air grew thick with the smell of wet earth and something metallic, like old blood. At the bottom, the flashlight beam hit the floor, revealing patterns that made his head swim. They weren't just carvings, they were warnings. The symbols began to glow with a faint, sickly light, pulsating in time with the house's unseen heart. The inheritance was a trap. A sound emerged from the corner of the room, a wet, tearing noise that made the hair on the back of his neck stand up. From the deepest shadow, a figure began to unfold. It was tall, unnaturally thin, and wrapped in tattered rags that didn't move with the wind. It had no face, only a void where features should be, until two faint, glowing white eyes opened within the darkness of its hood. Elias tried to scream, but the air in his lungs turned to ice. He scrambled backward, his boots sliding on the damp stone floor. He turned to run, bolting up the stairs as the entity glided after him, its movements silent and predatory. The house was closing in. He reached the hallway, but the exit was gone. One by one, the doors slammed shut with the force of a thunderclap, sealing his fate. He was trapped in the foyer. The shadow entity was now only a few feet away, its presence draining the heat from the very air. It leaned in, its height reaching the low, ornate ceiling. The glowing eyes were the only light left in the world. Elias closed his eyes as the freezing darkness reached for him. The last thing he felt was a touch as cold as the grave. The mansion fell silent once more. The debt had been paid, and the cycle of the inheritance was finally complete. Somewhere in the upper floors, a light flickered in an attic window, a sign that the house had found its new master. Some things are best left forgotten, buried deep within the stones of the past. Beware the inheritance.